Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you tried, no matter how much effort you put into changing, whether it was habit, relationship, or a pattern you found yourself in, you always somehow ended up at the beginning, you always somehow ended up repeating the same pattern over and over again? And let me tell you right now, this is not because you are not trying hard enough, this is not because you are lazy, this is not because you are lacking discipline. Quite the opposite, okay? There is a very specific reason why this is happening, and it is actually hidden in your subconscious mind and your nervous system based on how familiar you feel in the terrain that you're trying to achieve, okay, that you're trying to enter. I'm going to tell you exactly why is this happening, and I also want to give you some ways how you can get out of this cycle. Let me start by saying that the subconscious mind doesn't actually care what you want, okay? The subconscious mind only cares about what is safe for you. And what does the subconscious mind perceive as safe is actually what is familiar, okay? So you're going to be repeating certain patterns, and you're going to be repeating them regardless of whether they are healthy or unhealthy, because the subconscious doesn't distinguish between what's healthy, what's unhealthy. It only focuses on what is familiar and what is safe for you, okay? Safety for the subconscious mind as well as the nervous system means everything. So you're not going to be able to hold the reality, you're not going to be able to hold the level that is beyond what both your subconscious mind and your nervous system perceives as safe and as familiar. So, for example, if you grew up in an environment where there was a lot of chaos, there was a lot of trauma and a lot of dysregulation, you're going to be repeating that subconsciously, whether you want it or not, until you rewire the patterns, until you become aware of what is happening. Once again, the subconscious mind doesn't care about what is healthy or unhealthy. It doesn't care about what you want, what your goals are. It only cares about bringing you back to safety or keeping you in that safe comfort zone, okay? Whatever it's familiar for you, particularly. There is a thing such as your conscious desire versus the subconscious safety. So when you say, I want better, I want change, I want this and this goal, the subconscious mind is not going to look at it as something that it should work towards, right? If it's not familiar to you, if it doesn't feel safe, it's going to guide you back to safety. It's going to keep you in that protection mode, because our subconscious mind actually wants to keep us safe and protected. And everything that you are doing, actually, anything that you are doing in a way of avoiding or procrastinating or just really doing all these things, when it comes to subconscious mechanism, it is all in a way of protecting you. And I know it can sound very contradictory, because when you consciously think and feel like I want to achieve this goal, I want to bring myself in a better place, but you subconsciously don't believe that that is safe, it's gonna be keep repeating the same patterns over and over again. And it doesn't matter how bad you want it, if in your subconscious mind you don't have this wired in that this is safe, you're gonna be kept at the same level, you're gonna be kept at the same patterns over and over again. So what you want to do is actually make sure that your subconscious understands that where you are heading is safe for you, okay? So it's a safe place, and it doesn't have to protect you from that. Your nervous system doesn't care about your goals or your desires, it only cares about safety as well. So this is why I'm keep mentioning subconscious mind and your nervous system, because these two things are going to determine if you can reach to the next level, if you can get to the next level, or even if you get there somehow, if these two things are going to sabotage you and bring you back to the previous level. Because if your nervous system is not expanded, it's not stretched into the new territory, it's gonna bring you back to safety. It's not gonna be able to hold that for you. For example, let me use an example. If you have been in a relationship where you didn't feel safe, or you were repeating patterns from your childhood, where you were in the avoidant attachment style, let's say, for example, and now you are entering a healthier relationship, your nervous system is going to really struggle with holding that, even though it is very healthy for you, and you consciously understand that, but subconsciously you're going to be feeling as a threat. Okay, so this relationship is going to feel as a threat for your nervous system, because it is not something familiar. It is very unfamiliar. It is something that feels unsafe to your nervous system. That's why a lot of people keep repeating their patterns, and they stay in the toxic relationships, or they keep in the trauma bonds, because it is, in some twisted way, it feels safe and familiar, especially if you grew up with some abuse or something like that, that is guiding you towards the same patterns and same familiar ways of behaving and relating to other people. That's why it is important to go to the root cause and actually unlearn these patterns, because you can unlearn them, obviously, but you need to put some work into that, and you need to start rewiring what is safe and what you actually want. I always say that awareness is power. So if you are aware of your patterns, you are already on a good way of changing them. Being aware of them, it's not enough alone. Because if awareness was enough, then you would have already changed. You would have already changed those patterns, because you know deep down and subconsciously and even consciously, you know that what you are doing is not healthy for you, for example, and you would like to change, you would like to navigate it differently. But if that awareness was already enough, you would be already changing, right? So awareness itself is not enough, because these patterns and these signals live in your body. And that's why it is important to understand the subconscious learns through emotion and repetition. There is a lot of tools that you can use in order to rewire your subconscious mind. And it is very important to bring emotion that you want to imprint onto your subconscious mind into your practice. So whatever is your practice, it could be scripting, it could be journaling, it could be self-hypnosis, it could be even affirmations. It doesn't matter what it is, because you can use and utilize any of them, but you have to infuse them with some sort of emotion. So that is a powerful way of imprinting the subconscious mind and rewiring those patterns, rewiring the safety, rewiring all these things that will lead you into changing them patterns. Now I would like to give you my personal experience, an example of the pattern that I kept repeating myself. I felt like I had to sabotage something in order to achieve something, okay? And that was because deep down, I had this imprint on me. I had this deep belief that there needs to be sacrifice in order to achieve something and to get something. And that is deeply related with how I grew up. I subconsciously connected the sacrifice with achievement. This is, for example, if you felt like you had to earn love, your body and your subconscious is going to repeat this pattern. And that's why you cannot intellectually override this pattern. You have to dig it in your body, where it lives in your body, and make your nervous system familiar with the safety of what you want to create. This is the reason why change feels hard for so many people. And it is because it feels unfamiliar for us. And because it's not familiar, it's going to be very hard to achieve and difficult to achieve. And then even if we achieve that, a lot of people actually find themselves sabotaging that, because they are not familiar with this amount of whatever it is, whether it's love, whether it's money, whether it's success, because the nervous system and the subconscious mind are not on board with this new identity, with this new reality that you want to embody. And that's why it starts sabotaging it. That's why it starts pushing and pulling us back to the safety, pulling us back to what is familiar to us, what we have known our whole life or previously, or what is actually wired in our system. That is why it feels difficult, and that is why it feels hard. It is not because the change itself is difficult, it is just because the identity is still acting from the previous wiring and the previous pattern. I would like to give you some specific tips how you can make subconscious mind work for you instead of against you. The first step would be slowing down enough to notice when the pattern is happening, okay? And this is the most important step, because until you will notice the pattern, until you will become aware that it's even happening, you will not be able to change it, okay? So it will require you to be brutally honest with yourself and to be truthful and to actually admit what is happening, and then you will be able to start working with it. The next step would be asking, what is this pattern trying to protect me from? Because as we know by now, the subconscious mind is actually trying to protect us from something. It is always trying to protect us, okay? Even if it feels like it doesn't even make sense, if you dig underneath, you will find that this pattern is either trying to protect you from abandonment, from not feeling lovable, from any of those things, but you really have to be honest and truthful with yourself, and then you will be able to uncover what is underneath. The next step would be to actually regulate your nervous system first before you take the next step. And this is because with this regulated nervous system, you will be not able to make any changes, okay? You will be very triggered and you will be acting and reacting from a place that you actually want to change and rewrite. So regulating your nervous system is very important. It is done by slowing down, by taking a deep breath and actually stopping yourself before reacting, and just keeping your nervous system regulated at all costs. When the body feels safe, the mind becomes open and suggestible and open for change. Next step would be to introduce the changes in small doses instead of big overnight changes, okay? So this is how you actually bring the safety into the change and make it familiar to your system, to your nervous system, to your subconscious mind, to your body, by introducing it by little steps and little moments that will actually push you forward and make it feel like it is familiar. It is not a big change, overnight change that shake you up, wake you up, but it is actually achievable and doable. Next would be the repetition, which is very important because that's how subconscious mind works, and that's how it learns, actually, by repetition. And this is heavily related to neuroplasticity and rewiring neuroplasticity. We know that it is possible and it works by repetition. So that is very important. So you keep doing the little steps and you keep proving and showing to yourself that it is safe and it is familiar. And by that, you will be little by little rewiring your mind, rewiring your subconscious mind, and proving to yourself that it is safe. Examples for that would be setting a tiny boundary, saying no when you feel like saying no, choosing to respond differently, or becoming aware of when you are triggered. When it comes to identity anchoring, it is important to remind yourself that your subconscious mind doesn't care about what do you want, but it cares about who you are in the moment. This closely relates with the identity and which identity you are actually embodying and acting from. That's how your subconscious will react. When you shift your identity even slightly, your subconscious is going to respond. This is why it's important to always keep in mind how you are looking at yourself, how you are thinking about yourself in your mind and about your identity. For example, if you are thinking, I am someone who respects my time, your subconscious is going to start rewiring everything in your favor in order to prove to yourself that you are someone who respects their time. So you are not wasting time around with unnecessary stuff, or you are not letting people crossing your boundaries. and similar, okay? Why does this actually work? It is when your subconscious feels safe, that's when reality starts actually shifting. That's when your identity starts changing. So it's all about, at the end of the day, it's all about making your subconscious mind safe and making it familiar with the changes that you want to achieve. When your subconscious feels safe, that is when actually the change happens. Not because you are forcing yourself, not because you are pushing yourself, but because the new identity is now safe, because your internal state now allows the shift to happen. Let me ask you this. When you look at your own life and your own patterns, what your subconscious mind has been trying to protect you from? Because once you answer this honestly, it stops having the control over your life and you will be able to start changing that.